Welcome back to another episode of crafttruck Tech Bites. We have something really cool here that Ted's going to tell us all about. Ted from Red. It's called the Meizler Module. Now, I'm sure when a lot of Scarlett Epic owners saw this online, it's like, oh, it's got ins and outs, and it's how much? It's like $13,000, and they probably thought, well, you don't need that to work the camera, so why would I? Probably is like a lot of sticker shock.
Very often, because of the things that you do, you take that camera and you start growing it and modifying it. And before you know it, you've got a lot of cables, you've got a lot of inputs and outputs, you've got a lot of Velcro, you've got a lot of things attached to it to do that focus, iris, and zoom control, to basically get all the motors on it, to get all the attachments, to get a video signal out of the camera onto monitors.
It becomes
before
a Franken camera.
It becomes, Medusa camera or Franken camera.
Franken camera, exactly. Right.
So that's what this piece, so you can see basically it doubles the size of the camera. It's like having another camera attached to the back of the camera. But that's what this takes care of. It basically streamlines the whole concept of all that stuff that typical productions need to deal with on a regular basis and puts it all into one very unified package. So maybe I'll just give you kind of a quick tour of what this thing can do.
What does the Meizler Module do?
So first, before we even get into all this stuff, it sends a wireless video signal out. So it attaches to the video ports of the camera. We're shooting high resolution RAW, 5K RAW off the sensor, right? And capturing that to the little, the media pack, which is right there.
The side SSD there.
So in this is a wireless video hub, basically, that can send wireless video out, and then you connect it to any kind of off-the-shelf HD SDI or HDMI monitor that you would have on the set, and you don't have a cable for wireless video anymore. It's part of it. In addition, it has something called fizz control, full fizz control, focus, iris, zoom. So you connect the motors to this lens, and in this case I'm using a controller from Element Technica. You can also use the Preston 2 controller, which is very, very popular in the industry. So you can see now I'm doing wireless focus, right? And typically to have this, you would have all kinds of cables and third-party GAC all over this thing, right? So there's that.
Basically, so this also acts as a remote focus system, a remote focus iris,
all
and
built
zoom,
into it,
all built into the Meizler Module.
So once you know what that stuff costs,
that's a huge part right there. Okay, let's just be clear. That in and of itself is a massive, massive thing to achieve.
Once you know what that stuff in and of itself costs to just do that without any kind of wireless video component or any of the other things that it can do, you're already saving money, right? It's already that. So that's that piece. Then the other piece that's pretty valuable is, let's just pop this guy out here. In addition to recording the super high resolution cinema raw, right, where we're actually making movies, whether it's going to go for television or for cinema, we can also record to a proxy codec simultaneously. So this is part of what a lot of people have had a high desire for. And of course, what we talk about is making sure you get both, right? So in our logic, you don't want to dumb it all the way down to only record HD off a camera that's going to give you super high-res RAW. But we understand the value of getting instant HD for a TV finish and then keeping your RAW if you need it for later when you may take that TV job and take it up to 4K, which is going to happen now.
Editor's files instantaneously. And just go back and conform it later or whatever. So you're saying it's automatically creating basically HD versions.
Yeah, ProRes, DNX, all the things that editors will use or television.
You can actually set the format.
You set the format.
So you can set the format to sort of like a ProRes for Apple. You can do it for Final Cut. You can do it for some 422 any settings you want.
Yeah.
Okay. And will that also automatically tie back to the R3D files later?
So all the metadata is embedded in there, built into that, so that when you roll this, it's metadata rich, so that you can do an offline and link back to your R3Ds directly and do a finish that way.
Does it also create does it keep the sort of grading settings that you?
So I can show you how that sort of works. So why don't you turn this around? Let's make a shot with the camera in some fashion.
You tell me what you want to photograph here, because I'm not the world's best.
Why don't you point it out the window?
Point it out the window. There we go. There we go. Something to look at.
There we go. Now we got a shot there. Okay. So that looks.
This is wild, by the way. I got to tell you, it's worth $13,000 to see it work.
Right, and this is not shipping quite yet. It's in its sort of final stages of building.
Still hasn't been released yet. Yeah.
But it's coming. Yeah. All right, so this is an iPad Mini, which a lot of you have, understand, know how it works, right? Yeah. So I have an application that is built for the iPad. We call it RedSync. That syncs to the Meizler module.
Wow.
So there's a whole bunch of different tabs here. This is the slate part, which we'll go back to in a second. the first thing you've got is all of the things that you have in your monitor output. Now, also note that the Meizler module gives us the ability to connect multiple monitors, right? So we have.
So that's a huge issue with the camera.
And we also have this little +1 thing that we're building that does that too.
So in other words, now I can actually have my iTap, my monitor, the operator can look through it. If the first wants to stare at the side monitor, if the director wants to stand closer to the camera, we can have multiple taps going on. Okay.
And you can have red stuff on each, so you don't need a third-party one just coming off the HD, which isn't smart. You know, a lot of times the AC wants to see a certain amount of metadata here from all the menus. The operator wants to see either a semi-clean or a clean feed off the eyepiece, and you can set all that up this way. So that's an advantage.
And now, just for anyone out there, so stupid, Red should be putting all the taps on the thing in the first place, and it sucks. Click send. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep logging all day. It costs money to put this shit on, okay? It costs money. That's what it does. Okay, so just relax. Okay.
Anyway. Well, yeah, I mean, and there's a valid point to that, right?
Yeah.
There's something that we get from both positive, semi-negative, and negative feedback, and it all comes in this big soup of what are you going to build when, right? And how much does it cost to build it? Who's going to migrate to it? Is it going to be worthwhile, and is it going to be viable? So I never really worry about people complaining about the dynamic of what the camera is or what it does. All I worry about is, are you getting glorious pictures? Because if you're getting that, the rest of it we can fix and we can continue to modify, which is part of what our company does. Obviously, you've seen from the early days of the Red 1 where it was a bit sort of, the camera was amazing and there was kind of this kludge of stuff to where we are now and the way that we've got this camera configured in the back here. There's just,
which we will show, we'll talk about that.
We're pretty sophisticated, right? Anyway, all right, so let's get back to this.
So we have...
So the first thing we do is basically connect to the camera, right? So it sees the Epic wirelessly because there's a wireless signal. I say go ahead and connect to it. Now it's connected to the camera, right? Now I have all of the stuff I would control from my touchpad or my red remote or the side handle if I had that. I have that same interface on the iPad.
Laid out like that.
Laid out like that. So let's just kind of say, okay, let's say I want to change my sensitivity. So I need to come here to make sure it's doing it. So let's just say I want to take it down to 400. There you see it drop to 400. If I want to take it back up to, let's go up way up high to 2,000. So I'm changing all that stuff, right? Fantastic. If I want to change my red code, we'll leave it at our default.
And of course, this isn't actually changing the red raw.
Right, this is metadata.
It's just metadata, and this is just the way you're viewing the material. It's not what it's actually recording.
So then, very typical, we would roll the camera. So we're recording.
Rolling right now,
We'd go to our slate. Go ahead and hold it in front of the thing there, and it'll mark.
Where do I? Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Did I actually get a mark there?
And now we're rolling, right? So it's the camera's still rolling. It should be rolling. We can see it's red, right?
Yeah.
So I can go back here to this, and when I'm done with my take, I can just hit stop.
Yeah.
Okay, and it locks it. So now it's ready to do the next take, and it automatically updates the slate to the next take. That was take 5. Now we're back to take 6. It's got all this other stuff on it. It tells all kinds of information. You can change all that.
And that's all embedded straight onto.
It's all loading and dropping into the R3D file and your proxy file.
So any other key features about?
Oh my gosh, we just got started. There's so many things that do with this thing. We haven't even got to the back end yet.
Okay, right, so go to the back end.
So there's that. All right, now this is what I think is really interesting. There's playback, right, on camera. So I can go ahead and choose the clips. So there's a bunch of clips there, whatever they are, and I can go ahead and just playback files on camera.
So in other words,
I can scroll through them and
somebody standing next to the camera, operator, whoever needs to see, director standing next to the camera.
You can say, can you pull back that take, and you can do it right.
So now your first can also become basically a playback type.
It doesn't play back on the iPad itself. It plays back on your wireless monitors and whatever on this monitor and so forth and so on. What I think is also really great is you can say record to proxy on playback. So you don't have any of the non-circle takes on your proxy module. You just have your circle takes delivered to the editor, which is another way to do it, which is kind of clever.
Okay, next
Okay,
feature.
so next. Now let's say you wanted to change some of the look parameters. So you're familiar with working with Red Cine and taking raw files and creating looks. A lot of people want to create looks on set. Right? So in this case, I have the ability, let's see if we'll actually see it while we're doing it. Yeah.
You're actually grading. You're actually
do a
grading.
little on-set grading. You can see how the color's changing there with stuff. So we can basically move and manipulate these files.
Awesome.
I can also look at things in a different gamma space, red gamma or red log film.
Red log film,
right?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people like to look at. So there's the red gamma 3. It'll change into that.
Can you create just a general, they have presets that can create a general like S-curve or whatever?
Yep, so there's a curve editor, so we can build a little curve. If I set a look, right, I can email that look to somebody as a RMD file, right? So I can basically go in and it's going to build this look file and it'll drop it into an email. There it is, right? That's an RMD.
Amazing.
So I probably covered about a quarter of what this thing does, but that's a lot. So that's probably enough.
Meizler Module, crafttruck, tech bytes, Ted Chilowitz from Red.